over and over again. Facebook, refusing to remove pages called I effing want to kill Donald Trump. We had top rappers. We had YG and Nipsey Hussle, performing in front of 20,000 people at the Coachella Music Festival. A rap song, which openly invokes death threats and vows to stage riots if Trump wins the presidency. Was it denounced? No, it was hailed. Billboard.com, The Source, MTV, every single one of them hailed it as this glorious protest anthem. You had the F Donald Trump's anthem, again, heralded as a viral protest song by sectors of the music media. Go and listen to the lyrics of this song. I mean, it was on YouTube for months. I don't even know if they deleted it. Again, this is the process of violent left-wing radicalization. But it's never covered from the leftist perspective because they can't allow that to get out. That's why they blamed the violence at the Trump rallies on Donald Trump. Again, for months. Until, the volume of footage was so overwhelming that they had to back away from that. We're seeing a similar process in the UK. This is out of LBC with regard to Brexit. Headline, I was called racist for handing out Leave leaflets. Now, these were black people who were handing out leaflets for Vote Leave in the United Kingdom. This is what they said. Yesterday, I was called racist all day. I was called a Nazi. My friend had his foot stamped on. It was scary. We had our stall kicked, punched. We had leaflets taken from the table. Someone tried to knock the table over. The weird thing is, I'm half Caribbean and my friend is Jamaican. All these people over the course of the day, every single person who called us a racist or a Nazi, and there were many, were all white, middle-class people. Well, what do you know? Again, they're so concerned about minorities, but not if they're conservatives. Then they can go to hell. Again, stamped on, attacked, called Nazis, simply for campaigning for a political position which is held by, virtually half of the country.
Paul, sitting back, listening to you, sitting back watching you do a great job here co-hosting with me today. I'm going to take over for the balance of the transmission now. But I really love having these mixed broadcasts where David Knight's on, you're on, I'm on. I'm having a workcation here with the family down in the Gulf of Mexico / Caribbean fishing, enjoying the bounties of God's world and the little bit of freedom we have left. But here, listening to you break all this down, and I know it's only a fraction of the evidence we have, even though it's voluminous. This voluminous mountain is only a grain of sand of the corruption and the ignorance. And it is the dumbed-down nature of the general public. That is the ocean in which this corruption swims. And when you've got people that are so dumbed down, they just think if they go with mainstream media, go with the latest fad, the latest fraud, the latest hype, they're going to get ahead. Like this Stephen Stanford, 19 from England, didn't have a job, basically living off welfare, here illegally, a big leftist, and he thought he would be such a hero getting caught up in all the hype that he would go to a shooting range, learn how to use a gun, but couldn't buy one, so went and then tried to steal a police officer's firearm. And it took 2 days for us to even learn that this guy had been arrested. He was finally obviously indicted in federal court yesterday. And this is illustrative of how they are pushing the mass of these zombies to go out and engage in these attacks. And then the New York Times and the Daily Beast and everybody else can just sit back and act like they are completely ignorant to why any of this is happening, why any of this is unfolding. But it really is this triumph of ignorance over substance, where you have Donald Trump, who's always been equal rights for everybody, who was giving interviews back in 1993, 2000, you name it, with The Advocate. You've got Donald Trump, who's advanced women, minorities, you name it, in every position, more than anybody else in this industry. And you've got a guy saying Saudi Arabia doesn't take one refugee. They started the civil war in Syria. We should vet these people before they're allowed to come in. And the response is to have people running around with rainbow flags screaming, he hates gay people and he wants to kill the Muslims or ship them all back to whatever. It just shows how we have been totally trained to submit to the popular meme. And if you look at who goes along with mainstream media, they have the lowest income, they're the most ignorant people, they're young, they're stupid, they're foolish, and they just believe if they follow these narratives to go get 2 or 3 college degrees, or they follow the narrative of, you know, adopting some lifestyle that the media says to, or they just follow the narrative of go out and kill Donald Trump, that somehow they'll be fulfilled. No, he'll just probably serve 5 to 10 years in a federal prison or be deported back to England. But it's so classic, the mental illness of an illegal alien from England here, demanding everything free and literally whacked out wanting to kill a presidential candidate because he's a Nazi. This shows the entitlement. When I can't go to Russia, I can't go to China, I can't go to Mexico, I can't go to Brazil, I can't go to Nigeria, I can't go to anywhere in the world and try to ask for free stuff. I'd be imprisoned, I'd be beat up, I'd be thrown out on the street, I'd be deported. But only here do we have this mass mental illness, and then all of these weirdo, you know, entitled people that absolutely think that we're their mortal enemies if we don't just give them everything and give them everything now. And like giant Trigglypuffs, armies of Trigglypuffs, armies of social justice warriors, totally entitled. They're not learning how to write, how to read, how to be good at business, how to be charming, how to work hard, how to be competitive, how to be creative, how to be innovative. They're learning how to bitch and complain and whine like toddlers and organize themselves into big, giant groups of people parroting the same slogans mindlessly, believing somehow they're going to get ahead by doing this. This is what social engineering does. This is what the end of the family does. This is what it delivers us. And it'd be bad enough, we know societies tend to slouch towards Gomorrah, to quote the late Judge William Bork. But the globalists are greasing the skids towards Gomorrah for us to enter the most decadent cycle possible while cutting off resources at the same time, organizing a societal global collapse that is known as Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, we're exposing. So we're going to break, and I'm going to come back and take over and talk about all this breaking news. But first, Paul, the British exit, the Brexit, it's here. Give people the time frame. Your 20-minute report's up on Facebook, Twitter, at Real Alex Jones. It's on Infowars.com. Required viewing for anybody that wants to understand that globalism is in big trouble, but it's failing forward, trying to gobble up and declare all these unconstitutional anti-human rights. Here we are with world government out in the open. We're going to skip this break. Here we are with planetary regimes in our face. Here we are with admitted geoengineering and admitted deadly vaccines and admitted everything we've talked about, A to Z, from NSA spying to GMO and glyphosate's causing cancer. It's all being proven. It's all being documented. So what are they doing? They're shifting at the top to dictatorial, unelected, multinational corporations, getting governments to sign on to treaties, waiving their rights. They're merging the 3 global power units of the Asian Pacific Union, the American Union, and the European Union through the TPP and the Atlantic Treaty Organization. This is all happening as we speak in everybody's face. And instead, we've got a bunch of people running around talking about transgender bathrooms and women with feminists painted on their face, screaming and crying, oh my God, Donald Trump's so mean to the Muslims. This is mass mental illness. But that's at the bottom, it's mental illness. At the top, the globalists can't win an intellectual battle with patriots. All they can do is accelerate the dumbing down of folks that aren't awake, build them into giant masses of braying sheep to basically run their political opposition off of cliffs. And then once the poor, pathetic sheep, like we see now in Venezuela, are on the street starving to death, it won't matter. They'll still, like retarded baby birds, be begging for their globalist masters to vomit stolen goods into their little tummies that doesn't exist. So this is humanity being sabotaged. If you ever wanted to see what it would look like if aliens could infiltrate humanity, hypothetically, as an allegory to what we're facing, really it's a guild of psychopaths inbred, so they are alien, who are building AI breakaway civilization, which is alien, who are creating chimera cross-species creations by the thousands that are alien. So in reality, we are facing a psychopath dream. Humans can dream and build anything we want, but psychopaths can dream and steal our dreams and have stolen our dreams and are building this giant, all-seeing, twisted, wannabe, smart dust-driven, panopticonic, overwatching, future-predicting, twisted, false, omnipresent God that they believe will make them gods when they merge as they accelerate gene gun splicing of thousands of species, cross-species degeneration, destruction of the environment, just everything else you can imagine, while claiming they're trying to save it, when in reality they're in a mad psychopathic rush to build godhood, but the God has told them they must first destroy this creation and override it, because the two creations cannot live in singularity together. Now, if that isn't beyond revelations, I'll eat my hat. So let's talk about the British exit, the Brexit. Let's talk about that briefly, Paul, and I'm going to get into all the other news dealing with Trump, but it's bigger than Trump, because through this is a lens of distortion of how they can act like he's this horrible goblin monster, and he has these armies of dumbed-down minions sycophantically running around wanting to prove their manhood by killing him. It's just a sight to behold to see modern totalitarianism rising rapidly in the form of so-called liberalism, Paul Watson.
Well, here's the point. Let's play the game based on their rules. Okay, so Jo Cox, the Labour MP in the United Kingdom, she was murdered by some United Kingdom are to blame. About Omar Mateen. His friend said that Omar Mateen, the Pulse nightclub gunman, supported Hillary Clinton. So is Hillary Clinton to blame? You know, is Hillary Clinton now going to have to disavow Omar Mateen for the next 3 to 4 weeks over and over again? Is Hillary Clinton going to have to suspend her campaign out of respect for the Orlando victims because Omar Mateen supported Hillary Clinton?
Paul, let me interject. Let me interject on this. This is important. Hillary Clinton is to blame for helping create Al-Qaeda and ISIS and giving them Syria and making deals with the EU to bring in the refugees who then help radicalize the climate so that first-generationers from Afghanistan like Omar Mateen take action, and her government, her FBI, her Justice Department, Obama's system, ordering the protection of this mosque, these imams, the rest of it. You can actually say she is to blame because there's all the connections. But in the case of some supposed crazy person shooting someone who's for staying in the euro, and that's not even clear, and then blaming everyone that's for the British exit for sovereignty, that it's their fault. No, it's not their fault, because they didn't give the Stinger missiles to them. They didn't open the borders. They didn't allow the radicalization. They didn't protect the, quote, mosque that was teaching him, because there was no mosque. It wasn't any organized group delivering it. It was a mentally ill person, and we even believe that. Paul Watson.
Exactly. I mean, you can go to the next example. You know, the guy they caught with explosives and guns on his way to a gay pride march. It's since come out that this individual, James Wesley Howell, was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Does that mean Bernie Sanders is to blame? Does that mean Bernie Sanders has to disavow his connection to this
Bernie Sanders attracts mentally ill people.
Well, yeah, we've kind of documented that on numerous occasions. But, you know, if they want to play this game, let's play it. But they don't want to play it. They want to play it by different rules. It's not a level playing field. So, again, the same with this guy who tried to assassinate Trump. You know, they'll probably blame that on Trump for his rhetoric. Even though this guy is in the UK, he's been hearing for the past 6-8 months, Donald Trump's a Nazi, he's a fascist, we need to ban him from the United Kingdom, he's dangerous. That's what he was radicalized by. That was the wellspring, that was the incitement for him to try and go and carry out that assassination.
Let me ask this question. Do you think the totalitarian left worldwide is becoming openly fascistic and oppressive because they're arrogant and think they're winning? Or is it because they're losing? But that's the first part of the question. Separately, I tend to think it's both. They know they're starting to lose the cultural war, so they're having to go ahead and move to authoritarianism, even though it's a desperate gamble and tends to make people wake up even faster. Still, they just can't help it and have the classic instincts of tyrants that even though it's going to destroy them in the end, they can't help it. They want to exercise the raw edge of power.
No, I mean, that's precisely it. And you can look at Brexit as another example of that. Even if we vote leave, even if there is a Brexit on Thursday, which is when the vote takes place, they've basically already come out and said, oh, by the way, if you vote for Brexit, we're probably not going to follow through with it. We're not going to allow you to exercise your democratic will because the referendum is not law-abiding. So we're just going to go back to Parliament and discuss it for a few months. Maybe we'll do something, maybe we won't. So even ahead of it, they're saying, we're just going to ignore your vote, just like the EU has done in many other countries. You know, the French, the Dutch, they vote. The Irish, to get out of these things, the vote is ignored. The terms are changed, and they make them vote again until they get the result they want.
Sure. Paul, I think overall that shows time is on our side in that in that it did, the more they engage in shenanigans,